Hey guys, Drew Aldridge here, President of Mobilization Funding. I'm excited to be here today, and I just kind of wanted to get a couple things out on the table. The things we're going to be talking about today are really the industry dynamics of this commercial subcontracting industry, the structure of the industry. I'm also going to be talking about how some of those structural elements of the industry can make life really hard for you guys. And then third, I'm going to offer some suggestions on how you can compete more effectively in the industry given all of those challenges. Now, here's the thing. I want to make something very clear. I'm going to fall on the sword. I have never built a $100, $200, $300 million commercial subcontracting company. So I'm not here trying to tell you how to run your business because I certainly do not feel qualified to give you that information. So I'm telling you that, I'm getting that, that's my alibi right there. But what I have done over the past 10 years, I have banked and worked here at Mobilization Funding with companies that are in the subcontracting industry that are $200, $300, $400 million in revenue, who have scaled, who have grown, who've gone through the hurt locker, and I've been able to witness that. So I'm taking a series of lessons that I've learned from them through years of discussing with them. How did you grow? How did you run your business? How did you solve that problem? And I'm putting all that in a package of information for you. If it works, I'd love to know. If it doesn't, or you disagree, I'd love for you to let me know too, because I'm constantly learning as well. But I'm confident you're gonna find a lot of value in most, if not all, the stuff that we talk about today, and I'd love to hear that feedback as well. Today, I wanna walk through 4 questions. First, what are the structural realities of the commercial subcontracting industry? Number 2, what does growth feel like, and why does growth feel harder and riskier as you get bigger? Third, how do growth-minded subcontractors actually compete better, especially around cash flow? And fourth, finally, when does growth turn into scale, and why does that distinction matter? Think of this as like business school, but in normal people applicable terms, with real-world consequences, real-world examples, etc. So, all right, let's start. Question number 1. What are the structural realities of the commercial subcontracting industry? Let's start with the truth. Most people never say aloud. Commercial subcontracting is structurally difficult, the industry itself. Not because contractors are bad, but because the structure of the industry works against you by default. I know you feel that every single day. That doesn't mean success is impossible. It's certainly not impossible. It means success requires intentional design, not just being busy or not just effort. So reality number 1 as it relates to that. Entry into the industry is relatively easy, which keeps everyone in the industry under pressure. It is relatively easy to start a subcontracting business. I know that might be a little unpopular, but you need a license, a crew, some tools, and the willingness to say yes and work your rear end off. What you don't need is, in most terms, strong capitalization, cash flow forecasting in the very beginning, a balance sheet strategy, or a deep understanding of investment risk. So what happens? New competitors enter constantly. Former employees spin out new companies, side gigs end up being larger companies, side hustles become companies. And this matters because when entry is easy, pricing stays tight. Margins never fully recover. Mistakes become expensive. Discipline becomes harder to maintain. This is why, let's just raise our prices. That's not a strategy. Or let's just win as much work as we possibly can. That's also not a strategy. It's a wish. The structure pulls prices back down. Reality number 2, rivalry in your industry is relentless and it is emotional. Commercial subcontracting isn't just competitive, it's emotionally competitive. Work is project-based. Revenue isn't usually recurring. Crews must stay busy. Overhead does not pause. So bidding decisions can sometimes become irrational. You kind of stop asking, is this job good for my business? And it's easy to start asking, what happens if I don't win this job? That's not a good position to be in. That mindset shift, I promise you, is really dangerous. It leads to bad decisions. It leads to emotional decisions. Taking work outside your sweet spot, accepting jobs that have terrible terms, bidding thin just to stay active. Here is another uncomfortable truth. Contractors will lose money slowly and painfully. They do this you do this just to avoid the pain of saying no today, the pain of saying no. Rivalry doesn't just compress margins, it really compresses judgment and turns competition to emotion, which I'm a big believer in discipline over emotion. Reality number 3, buyers hold the leverage and they certainly use it. General contractors and owners have structural power. They choose from multiple subs, they write the contracts, they control payment timing, they hold retainage from you, they push essentially all their risk downstream. What about subcontractors? What about you? You pay labor weekly. You pay materials up front. You carry performance risk, and you wait 60 to 90 days to get paid, sometimes longer. That's tough. I mean, in plain terms, you're financing your GC's projects. You're financing the owner of the project's project. But here's the problem. Most subs don't price for that financing role. I mean, if banks operated this way, they'd be predatory. I mean, in construction, we call these standard terms, essentially is what they are. And you didn't sign up to be a bank, but that's what in effect, what the industry requires you to be. Reality number 4, supplier costs rise faster than your pricing power. So now layer this on, labor shortages, material volatility, insurance increases, equipment inflation, costs can rise really quickly, guys. And I know you know this, but your pricing power doesn't necessarily rise as quickly or rise at all because buyers have leverage and rivalry is intense. So who absorbs that shock? Unfortunately, in most cases, you, the subcontractor. So margins can shrink quietly, cash buffers disappear, risk increases without warning. That's why subcontractors often say, we're crushing it, we're doing well, this is awesome, but it doesn't really feel like it. I promise you guys, don't worry, that's not incompetence, it's the structure of the industry, and a lot of other guys feel like that, a lot of other owners feel like that out there, I promise you that. Reality number 5, cash flow is the central constraint as far as capacity goes in your business. This is the most important reality. Cash flow is not an accounting detail. It is the operating constraint in the entire business of most subcontractors. So as growth increases revenue, growth increases work in progress, growth also increases accounts receivable, which is work you have done and accounted for, but it is not turned into cash. AR is not profit. AR is cash you do not have yet, which leads to the sort of classic example or the saying, we're more profitable than ever, so why do I feel so stressed? Why can't I sleep at night? It's because your growth consumes cash before it creates that stability and that ease of stress. Cash flow is the difference between a business really that compounds on itself and a business that feels sort of fragile all the time and on the brink of chaos. Let's go to question number 2. Why does growth feel harder and riskier as you get bigger? Here's the mistake most subcontractors make. I feel like there's an assumption that sort of growth fixes problems. In reality, growth amplifies problems and really can amplify problems. So weak systems break faster, loose controls become chaos, and bad habits become extremely expensive. For example, like the accounts receivable snowball effect, for example. Let's make this real. So you do $500,000 a month at 60-day terms. That means I guess you're carrying about $1 million in accounts receivable. Then you grow to $750,000 a month, $750,000 a month. Now you're carrying $1.5 million in accounts receivable. That extra $500,000 in AR, accounts receivable, it didn't come from profit. It came from your cash. You paid for the work. You did the work. You just haven't been paid for it yet. It's a use of cash. Growth quietly turns your balance sheet into that bottleneck. That's what I'm talking about. Whether you plan for it or not, and it's hard to break that cycle. So growth turns you into a bank. As you grow, you finance more jobs at once. You carry more delayed payments. You absorb more execution risks. You didn't apply to be a bank, like I said earlier, but growth made you a bank one way or another. So it's tough. Question number 3, how do growth-minded subcontractors compete better? So given all that, what are some ways mentalities you can take in order to grow? So the best contractors don't win by doing more. Sounds backwards, but it's true. They win by being intentional. For example, focus. Focus is a strategic advantage. What does focus mean? Focus means fewer projects, clear customer profiles, less complexity, and more predictability. Predictability improves pricing, it improves scheduling, it improves cash flow forecasting, it improves decision making. Focus doesn't slow growth, it makes it more survivable. And I don't mean do less jobs, just do less jobs that you can actually execute and have the cash flow to execute. Second, differentiation. In construction, real differentiation, honestly guys, is boring. It's doing what you said you would do when you said you would do it, without surprises. Reliable contractors get more repeat work. They get better conversations, they get better terms, and more doors, more options are open, which gives them more confidence. And that is a compounding process. Third, cash flow is a competitive weapon. Let me say this plainly, guys. If you don't understand your cash flow, you don't understand your business, period. Especially if you want to grow. Growth-minded contractors, they track their accounts receivable aggressively. They know their cash position per job, match growth to liquidity. So they know when their balance sheet says no. That's not conservative, that's professional. That's building a resilient, sustainable business. Question number 4, when does growth turn into scale and why does it matter? This is where the fun starts. Here's the definition, and I want you to remember this. Growth is adding revenue. Scale is really adding revenue without adding proportional stress, risk, or complexity. If growth makes life worse, you are not scaling. You're just getting bigger. So here are some signs, I guess, that you're growing and maybe not scaling. If every decision runs through you, the business owner, if cash stress rises with revenue, if jobs feel more chaotic, if the business generally gets harder as it grows, it's not failure, that's just feedback for your business. When you grow, the operational challenges that you have will surface because the box is shaking, guys. And you see what is challenging, so you can fix it. Scale requires structure. Scaling subcontractors is really, really tough because of the cash flow situation that the industry is in. Standardized work, controlled cash timing, limit complexity creep, build repeatable systems. Scaling isn't hustle. Scaling is a design. Scaling is a system. Growth says, look how busy we are, or look how busy the company is. Scale says, look how boring and predictable and repeatable this has become. Boring businesses, especially in the trades, they last, they endure, they grow, they have more options. So here's the takeaway, guys. I'm just going to kind of summarize some of the things that we've talked about. Commercial subcontracting is structurally hard. It's tough, but it's not broken. It's just the reality. It's what you have to operate in. Growth is possible, though. Strong businesses are built every day, every single day. The contractors who win long-term, they respect the industry structure, understand the cash flow dynamics of the industry, choose discipline over ego, and grow with intention. If this episode, if this talk made you feel uncomfortable, then good. It should be a reality. That discomfort is the beginning of clarity. In future episodes, I'm going to dive deeper into some sort of micro subjects from this. I'm going to dive deeper into cash conversion, accounts receivable discipline, pricing for growth, and building businesses that get stronger as they grow. Because in this industry, in the commercial subcontracting industry, working harder isn't the answer. Thinking better and executing better is. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. I look forward to next time. Have a great day.